Education is the priority and most important thing. As you said, Peterborough has challenges. The council head uses the word churn quite a lot as one of the main issues. Is that a problem for Peterborough, and what does it do to try and overcome those problems with education here?
Well, I mean, I'll let Paul talk about this in a moment as well. I mean, Peterborough is a brilliant place. It's unique in many different ways. Some of that is about nationality mix and population mix, and that actually creates brilliant diversity and great sort of cultural awareness for all children. But yeah, there's also issues that come with that the education system, schools and so on has to deal with. But I think they deal with them brilliantly. I mean, I've met some great teachers and education leaders from this area, and they've got some really innovative stuff going on. But Paul, you may want to.
Yeah, I mean, I meet teachers and head teachers across the city all the time talking about some of the challenges that we face. I went to the Fallbridge Academy, for example, relatively recently. That's an excellent school doing wonderful things for children in that local area. And speaking personally as the Conservative candidate in Peterborough, I think, yes, we've got lots of great advantages as a city, but the number one asset for our city, as far as I'm concerned, there is young people. So we have to get education right, because it's the young people in the city that creates the foundation for future success.
You mentioned that, and obviously Peterborough's come second bottom in the SAS results the last 3 years. Now, I know they say it's tricky here because we have a lot of pupils who have EAL, etc. But what can you do? What can the city do, the government do, to try and help somewhere like Peterborough to get those standards as high as possible, so then they can come to a university like this and thrive?
Well, I mean, I think schools in the city are doing a great job. I've also had a chance to talk to some of the folks from the local authority about some of the work going on. Actually, just this morning I was at a nursery setting where we were talking about kind of supporting parents with education in the home, because actually, although young children spend a bit of time in nursery, actually spend more time at home. We need to think more about that, and particularly on that early language and literacy, which does have a big effect, and then it moves on up through primary school and even beyond.
Yeah. I don't think there's any point in sugarcoating it, in the sense that Peterborough does face some challenges. I think we're all very clear about that. But there's just a few things. First is I think the results are improving, and there is a plan to make sure that we do make improvements. A lot of that is working with central government on some of those kind of challenges too. But also, I think a lot of the schools that I go and visit, I'm inspired by the leadership in those schools, and I think that is key to a lot of improvements. And I think personally, that's what I want to see. I want to see really strong schools with really focused leadership, and I know if we have that, results will only continue to improve.
Can I say very quickly about academies as well? The local authority often mentions that it's limited on what it can do with academies if there's any problems there. Do you think the academies are working in Peterborough specifically?
Yeah, I think the development of academies and academy trusts, where you bring a number of different academy schools together, actually has been a great innovation in our system. Actually, of course, it was an innovation that started originally, under New Labour, but then with the coalition government after 2010, we really put turbo boosters under it and say any part of the country actually should be able to benefit from the extra autonomy, the extra kind of ownership that school can feel. And now that we have these, trusts containing a number of different academies, actually that's a great opportunity to share expertise, to really sort of embed and deepen an ethos, and actually also for creating career paths for teachers. Now, I'm always clear, by the way, in saying I think there are outstanding schools of all sorts. So there are outstanding academies, there are outstanding local authority maintained schools as well. But academies have brought an extra diversity to our system, and I think a great strength.
And you think will boost standards, boost for pupils here?
So look, the evidence that we have, as I say, says you can have brilliant schools of any type, and actually we have more diversity in our school system in England than most other countries have. You think about single-sex schools, co-ed schools, faith-based schools, secular schools, big schools, small schools, all sorts of schools. And I celebrate that diversity. But as I say, I think academies specifically, and particularly these academy trusts, actually have been a great force for good in our system. They've created extra innovation, and Paul was talking earlier quite rightly about the power of leadership, and this is absolutely at the heart of education. It's people that make the difference.
90% of our schools are good or better.
Yeah.
But that's the question. If 90% is good or better, then why do results not seem to go with them? That's always one question.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some things are improving and there are some challenges about results. We're not going to escape from that. But I think we should also celebrate some of the excellent things that are happening in our schools here in Peterborough. I talked earlier about Fallbridge Academy. I was genuinely inspired after walking around that school and the leadership team in that school and the difference they make for pupils. So I think we should celebrate some of the good examples we have of high quality education in this city, as well as seek to improve where we can improve.
And just very quickly as well, obviously we mentioned Peterborough has high migration. It can make it very difficult for parents to get their kids to their local school. What can the government do to help someone like Peterborough, where their parents often say it's not easy in certain parts of the city, not in all, but in certain parts, to get their kid into their local school?
So look, I'm really acutely conscious of the fact that we need to have the right number of school places, and that's why actually we're embarked currently nationally on the biggest expansion of school places in at least 2 generations. So over the course of this decade we'll have added 1 million new school places across the country, and that's in contrast to what happened between 2004 and 2010, where actually there were a lot of schools were being closed across the country and a loss of school places. So we've had to catch up and then make sure that we have that expansion that's there to make sure that everyone can access a really good school place for their child nearby.
And the funding's there for the pupils to make sure that they are getting a good level of education.
Yes, absolutely. So we are, as I say, biggest expansion in school capacity for at least